All right, welcome back to the pod, Jacob. Welcome on.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, for viewers who don't know, Jacob also has a podcast who has been an inspiration for us. Call it Earn Your Couch. Um, and how many episodes in are you now into your podcast?
We will be recording the 16th or 17th episode this weekend. So we're on pace for essentially doing two a week for the past 7-8 months. And so, or sorry, not 2 a week, two a month.
Two
Every
a
two
month,
weeks. Yeah.
dude. Awesome. And so, just curious, what was the inspiration for getting your podcast started? And I know that we are in like a similar niche and a similar like things that we like to talk about and things that we focus on. But what really got you guys started in that?
I would say, yeah. There's a few I think sources of inspiration for why we did it. One, I like just learning about this stuff, and like there's other podcasts that have inspired me that I was kind of just like it would be cool to have these types of conversations more frequently. And in my life started to connect with people and facilitate deeper conversations, and I always thought it'd be cool to like record it and almost have like this digital diary over time of conversations and learnings, and I can go back and be like, oh yeah, that's what I was talking about 6 months ago, or go back and see the clips just to kind of log different points of time. But really, my brother and I, we're both training for little half marathons, Spartan races, and the mentality that I kept telling myself was earn your couch, because I'm not giving up lifting for running. It's just that's my love. And so I'd try to lift in the mornings when I was training for those, and then I'd be tired after work, and just the mantra, earn your couch, earn your couch. Like I can sit on this couch right now, or I can sit on it in an hour and we'll feel so much better about it. Um, and so when I started having conversations more and more with my brother as he started getting into his own health and fitness journey, uh, he was like, it would be cool to keep each other accountable and talk about like the things that we're learning on a regular basis. I was like, we could just record them too, and keep the family updated with what we're doing, what we're learning about. And that's just kind of how it started, just as an opportunity for me and him to have facilitated deeper conversations about health, fitness, accountability, just making the most of life. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. I think that mindset of earning your couch is a very it's a that's a cool and interesting concept where you can actually reframe it to think, okay, now if I can do this, if I can, oh my God, hold on. Sorry, boys. Fuck. Um, I cut out for a second and I lost like half of what you said. So I was like going off the cuff.
You're
Um,
good.
can
Can you hear us now? You hear?
you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, there we go. Um, sorry about that, boys. Today's been a roller coaster.
A lot of
Dude,
technical difficulties on all
it's
ends.
get we're gonna, I mean, even that answer on my end is imperfect. It was kind of rambling. It's gonna take seconds to find flow, and I found that with just all of our podcasts. Like you try to like get started, and this is what it should sound like, and this is what this is what you expect it to be, and then it just turns into something else, and it takes 15-20 minutes to find your rhythm and just realize that we're having a conversation and
Yeah, we're all just talking.
getting to know each other a little bit better and
Hmm.
talking about cool shit.
Yeah, definitely. So, so the earn your couch, what you just said basically is going through your challenges or going through your hard things first in a given day, and then being able to sit back and then relax and essentially earn your couch. So I think that brings me to an idea of doing hard things. And something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about is doing hard things. And this year, especially, has been a reframing of how to actually go after some of these things. Podcasting, races, you mentioned races, um,
Hmm.
different job pursuits, those kind of things. And so I actually had pulled a quote from what you had said, and I'm interested to hear what your take is on hard things. And you said, "Do hard things. Failure and rejection are a part of human experience. Don't let it stop you." I think when it comes to hard things, there's you can learn so much about yourself as well as There's so much growth that is involved there. What do you think
Hmm.
about that?
I mean, for sure, there's the growth side of things. But something that I've been thinking about more recently, I'm sorry if you can hear Fred's claws in the background.
I
But
missed that pup.
I know he's a good boy. But yeah, hard things for me, and this is what I've journaled about it a few different times, and I think I'm gonna write a little kind of like blog post on it. Is I've realized that I'm an anxious person. I never considered myself to be an anxious person because I always felt like I was go with the flow, pretty easygoing, can get along with a lot of different types of people. But there's different levels of anxiety and different types of anxiety, and I hold myself to a high standard, and I have expectations for how I perform at work, for how I show up. And what I've realized is that I have a lot of just different anxiety extinguishers. Some of them are healthy, and some of them are unhealthy. And what I found is that the healthy ones usually require a little bit of effort, a little bit of hard, and the unhealthy things are those quick, easy, you know, almost unconscious habits, whether it's scrolling the phone, it's been smoking weed, it's been drinking, it's been, at times it was nicotine. And all those things got rid of the anxiety in one way, either the boredom or whatever, but it just shifted the anxiety from work, from my relationships, from whatever, to this other vice. And then there's the anxiety extinguishers that are workouts, meditations, journals, sauna sessions, all these things that take a little bit of time, a little bit of effort. I got to drive somewhere. I got to freaking get my heart rate elevated. I'm going to come back and sweat. But those things kind of breed confidence while the other ones breed more anxiety. And so my relationship with hard things has shifted not just from the growth opportunities and who you become, but what I've realized on a daily basis is that the doing the hard things is actually breeding confidence as opposed to breeding more anxiety. Um, and that is super, super valuable. And I know for a fact when I make a decision to do something else, when I choose the easy, that later in the day I'm not feeling good. But if I choose the hard later in the day, I'm feeling a lot better.
Yeah, I love that. What do you think? Um, was there a point when you felt like you really need to lean in more to those hard things, or and get away from some of those unhealthy uh, habits or things that you were leaning into before?
Yeah, there's a principle in theory that I latch to, the four burners theory. We've talked about it in our podcast. It's James Clear, Atomic Habits guy, was the one who I first learned about it from. But it's this idea that you have health, family, relationships, and your social, um, or career. Health, family, relationships, career. And at any one point, all of those things are turned up or equal 100 because it's the amount of time, effort, and energy that you have in the day. Uh, so you can't be over 100. So they can all be at 25, but more likely than not, work is at 70, health is at 20, relationships is at 10, et cetera, et cetera. And then certain things come in, are turned up, turned down, depending on the season, depending on the project at work, depending on what you're training for. And so what I've realized is when things get crazy in everything besides the health, in work and relationships and whatever, people usually turn health down quickly because they can be like, I don't need to go to the gym. I've realized that it's actually so much more important to retain at least a minimum level of that health, which is that doing the hard things, because it amplifies your ability to do the other things that are challenging in life. And so when I'm going to Arkansas for 2 months over the past couple of months for work, that's where the new customer is. The first week I was there, it was so easy because work got stressful and anxiety. There's so much anxiety of like a new project. How do we do this? What are we going to be doing? Like, uh, this is the new team dynamic. These are the new customers that we're meeting. I'm in a new place that I've never been to, and health just got turned down immediately. And I was like, I don't. We'll just go to the hotel bar after, and have a drink with the friends, or with coworkers. Well, that just led to me to being just a little just anxious more often than not. And you don't really feel it, but you notice it when you remove the anxiety later. Because the following week I was there, I was like, I'm at least gonna go for a run. I can go to the hotel bar and sit with the people afterwards, but I'm at least gonna go for a run in between getting off of work and having those conversations and like getting dinner. And it just completely shifted. And so I think your question was, when to lean into the hard. I think it's the first thing that goes for most people. It's the easiest thing to get rid of is doing the hard things, but it's actually the most important thing to retain when other aspects of your life is chaotic because it's your foundation, it's your grounding. It removes the anxiety, it increases those endorphins, it increases your energy, it makes you sleep better. Like your brain is just like it just amplifies. And
Yeah.
so it's crazy that we sacrifice it first. And the hard
Sure.
can be the hard can shift because sometimes your hard looks like you're training for an Ironman because you have the time, you have it, maybe not have the time, but you're prioritizing that time. Sometimes that time goes away because of vacation, because of work trips, because of whatever. And so the hard need is now like, oh, I have 30 minutes to do hard. It might not look like
Hmm.
my normal 2 hour hard, but
Yeah, it's a good point. I think what is similar to what you're getting at too is also another James Clear quote, which I really love this quote. It's helped in just shaping, making sure that you get done what you need to get done is you don't follow to what is it? You don't follow to the level of your preparations, like you follow the level of your systems. I think I'm misquoting that slightly.
you don't rise
And
to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
There it is. Yep. Like that. And so kind of what you're talking about on your work trip, right, is if you have a system in place where you know you're going to do X, Y, or Z, and this is like your non-negotiable that you have to do, then once you do, if you have that in place, then you're going to be able to stay in consistent, like consistent in that and and do that. But yeah, no, I think it's a very interesting point you make where that is usually the first thing that turns down for a lot of people. But then there's also examples too where people sometimes will just like the first thing that will go is like their relationships with like friends or family and or significant other, and it's like all of a sudden they shell up and they're doing other things, and so yeah, it's an interesting point you make where there's levels to what where you're actually putting your time and your effort and being more conscious and present about what you're doing there.
Yeah, I think it comes down to your values and your priorities in the moment, and your priorities, can be seasonal. Me as a single man in my mid 20s, where I don't have kids, I don't have the wife to come back and make sure that, I'm watering those areas of my life to make sure that those are continuing to grow. And so those things aren't able to be sacrificed first. I can imagine when you are in the situation where you have kids and a wife that maybe yeah, you do sacrifice your own personal needs a little bit more to take care of those who are dependent upon you. And those are just but those are hard things too. There's hard that's
Different heart.
involved in keeping your emotional and your mental health in place and I think or emotional health in terms of your relationships. And if you don't have your emotional house in put together,
Yeah.
you know,
It's like choosing your heart, really. It's like, do you want your heart to
yeah,
be having like problems in your relationships or or struggling with like your health because you're not putting time there? And like that is hard having health problems, but
hard
it's
now or hard
or
later.
exactly, or you can choose to go get your workouts in, go to the gym, eat correctly, and that's also hard in its own way, but it's your choice. Uh, yeah, I like that a lot.
yeah, I think something you touched on, Jacob, too, is you said you'd have these levels of anxiety kind of creeping back when you get off track. And I'm sure all three of us can attest to this is for people that when you start working out consistently, when you start eating very cleanly, when you reintroduce some of those bad habits back in, you are so in tuned with your own body and mind that you notice it very quickly. For instance, if you've eaten clean for a month, you're eating chicken, rice, beans, vegetables, you're, and then all of a sudden one day you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go get a gallon of ice cream. I'm gonna douse that thing in hot fudge and caramel. I'm gonna suck this thing down tonight. You wake up the next morning feeling like shit. Like you just feel it, and it's the same thing with these. It's the same thing with not tackling those hard activities in a day. You wake up the next day knowing that you were missing something because it's not only like the physical benefits to working out, or I think a lot of it is fitness in general, just movement. There is a the mind body connection, right? There is a mental benefit to these exercises that you're going to be doing that you can just sense. You can like genuinely feel it, not only in a physical way, but definitely in a mental way. And then obviously that ties into your emotions as well.
I I've become a huge fan of journaling in 2025. Um, I used to always do it when not all I found myself doing it when I was in personal like I was like trying to make a decision, whether it's with a relationship or with career or whatever, and I'm in this state of stress, and so I found that journaling allowed me to slow down my thinking, articulate, and I not necessarily knew where I was going to go with it, but just started, and then all of a sudden I'm able to connect the dots in my head through it. And the 2025 shift was, let's not just do it when we're in times of stress, but let's also do it when we're in times of highs, because let's reflect on all the things that are going well and the things that we're grateful for, and let's reflect on things that I'm proud of. But also, that's not means that every single day that's all I'm talking about if I'm in those like periods of good, but it means when I do have those periods of stress and be like, this was really hard today, I feel like I messed up there. But if I look back and actually think about my day, like I actually did a lot of good things. And it allows you to kind of like sift through. But I mentioned that just to give you context on the journaling. But just a couple weeks ago, I wrote down, um, life has momentum. That momentum can be used for good, but without some intention, that momentum can swing to bad. A bad that isn't necessarily horrible, which means you stay in it long. When we do the right things, we feel great. When we don't do the right things, we feel shitty. And I feel like I wrote that down. And to your point, when you don't do the right things, you know it immediately. You feel it in your sleep. You feel it when you wake up. You feel it in your energy levels. And I think what's so important that we're all, aware of that cause and effect relationship. And I think so many people are unaware of the cause and effect. It's one of the things I've talked about with like wearing a wearable, at least for a little bit, to understand I do this, that means my sleep does that. I drink this, that means my recovery becomes this. I do that means my heart rate is up or low or whatever. And just to have a understanding of that cause and effect, and so that you can eat the ice cream, and not to say the earn your couch mentality is just not to say I need to be a freaking David Goggins forever,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's to, I'm going to be intentional and choose, hey, I had a great fucking week. I'm going to eat some ice cream. I'm going to hang out. I'm going to feel worse tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know that. That's
Hmm.
okay. All that matters is, do I have the resilience to then get back on back on track? How quickly can I go from a low negative emotion to back to even keeled? And I
Hmm.
think that time from low to back on track, if you can reduce that, like
Yeah.
that's the goal, because it's impossible to say that you're going to be 100% on target all the time. It's impossible
Hmm.
to say that you're going to be um, completely disciplined no matter what, always making the right decision, always making, being excited about all of your choices and your habits and your decisions, and like, but can you make the wrong decision or have a bad habit or intentionally like, hey, I'm going to have a Blaze pizza tonight because fuck it, I earned it.
Yeah.
I'm going to deal with the consequences. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to be present with the freaking pizza. And then tomorrow I'm going to go back to I'm going to use that pizza and go for a freaking workout because I carbo loaded.
Literally. I mean, that's I to that point. I literally ate. There we got a new donut shop literally around the corner from our place last night. So last night I went and had 3 donuts. This morning I went on 12 mile run. Like you just said. Like I used the carbs. Was like, okay, we'll shift the run to Saturday instead of Sunday for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100% to your point. Like reward yourself. Go have the ice cream. Go have the pizza. Go have the naughty things. Whatever that is. But I think when you're aware and, like you said, knowledgeable of that fact that if you do this consistently, you're going to feel it. Um, I think people just don't become aware until they really cut that out for a very long time. Because then when you reintroduce it, you feel it almost immediately. You're like, oh wow, like whether it's stomach, whether it's mind, whatever it is. Um, yeah, but 100% to your point, like definitely reward yourself. I'm not saying go David
Yeah.
Goggins, don't cut everything out. You need a little, you need to enjoy life, and that leads me into like a good point for you with earn your couch, right? This is a conversation me and Brandon had with Sam Swillinger actually on our last episode.
Mhm.
Was how do you, in particular, when you're climbing the mountain, earning your couch, um, when do you stop to enjoy the view, and when do you stop to smell the roses? How do you know you've gotten to that point where you can do that?
I don't I don't think that there's necessarily a point in time where you're like, okay, now I can do that. I think the I think it's appreciating it the whole way up, or trying to stay in that trying to stay in that state of presence as long as you can.
Yeah.
For and for me that is, I think a lot of people call out from an external, like, hey, what you're doing for work and balancing it with trying to do podcasting and writing more and staying on top of your fitness and also exploring San Diego, and like what you're doing is a lot on your plate. And like for those of us who are kind of go people, it doesn't feel like, I mean, yeah, there's of course, like I'm just trying to make the most of my time, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to have fun. And so for me it's been, journaling has been a huge thing, but like a daily gratitude practice of just appreciating what I have, recognizing that, hey, what I'm doing, I feel like a little bitch when I say like, oh, what I'm doing is really hard, but like you can take a step back and be like, yeah, what you're objectively doing, you're doing a lot, you're trying to make the most of it, and that is a challenging thing. Like the flip side of the coin is that you could just be a sack of shit and not have any ambitions and not have goals that you're pursuing, whether big or small. And so it's an honorable cause to go out and try and make the most of life, right? I think. Um, and so to stop and smell the roses, I think there's like the whole idea of just like job's not finished. Like, sports, if you win one playoff series, like job's not finished, but like you can also be like, all right, hell yeah, like we made it to the next round. Like if you told me at the beginning of this playoff round that we were going to win it, I'd be fired up. Um, and so I think that that gratitude practice has been a huge piece of that, is just to be grateful amidst the chaos, to be appreciative that, hey, I got a really cool project at work. Hey, I've met some really cool people. Hey, I hit a PR. Hey, I hit every single workout that I had set out at the beginning of the week. Um, but to say like you can't appreciate that at the end of the week or at the end of the day, because you have to get to some point, I don't think is true. Because at the end of the day, you could get hit by a bus tomorrow, and you were never grateful for the things that you've been able to do already.
Yeah.
Uh,
I I think Brandon, you texted me this the other day. If you can remember it about
Yep.
something, yeah. Do you know it? I'm trying to
About
find it right
mountains.
now. I don't want to misquote you. Yeah, about the mountains.
Yeah. It's behind mountains are more mountains. It's a
mm,
Ryan Holiday quote from his book, The Obstacle is the Way. So I just finished an audiobook. Great listen because he reads it himself, and so he's got a very good cadence to listen to. But um, yeah, behind mountains are more mountains, and it's like this. The sense is right. Is like were were striving for a goal, and eventually we hit a certain point where we think we we eclipsed it, we did it, we got there, and then as soon as you get to that spot again, you see the next set of mountains. And it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't ever stop. You don't ever get to a point where life just rewards you with just like a perfect like just a perfect area where you get to hang out now, and that you're in the grass and you're in the park and it's just all good. And it just doesn't work like that, you know. And so behind that mountain is another mountain to be able to go after, and kind of bringing it back to what you guys are talking about, and is what I really think is the when it comes like smelling the roses or anything, is if you for me personally, if I think about any big task or any sort of big achievement I've ever like done, it's achieving it is great, but when you look back at it in retrospect, what I love the most personally is like the journey along the way. Like for me, when I did the Ironman, I don't think it was, or the 70.3, I don't think it was like crossing the finish line was like awesome, cool, but it was like so fast. And then but then when you sit with it, you're like, dude, like earlier in January, I couldn't even like swim 25 yards without getting tired. And then now you just did a 1.2 miles. And so
That's awesome.
it's like the journey. I think it's like that journey. And when you look back, and so then knowing that that's what you appreciate the most, like where you are now, it's a good reminder to be like, what you're doing right now is you're gonna love this part. And so it's hard right now, but like let's let's enjoy this process, and let's go through it, and let's embrace it, and have a better perspective on it. But
I love that. And congratulations, by the way, on 70.3. I went out to Oceanside and supported Peyton and a few others.
yeah,
It's such a beast. Such a beast for
appreciate it,
being
man.
able to do that. That's cool.
It's easier than you think. It's
Yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
it really is. It's like once, like I don't know. It's though out of this. I don't know. Me and Payne talk about this. It's like there's like a level once you do it, you realize it's really just like the constant stacking of days. It's the
Sure.
constant just doing the endurance and just and staying on it, staying hammering, and then all of a sudden that those 1 hour workouts or 3 hour workouts, and you never would have thought you could get there, and then all of a sudden but then you're just there, and so
It it's easier than you think because like you've become better, more accustomed, more equipped to handle hard. It's not easy. Like let's just be straight up about that. Like what you're doing is not easy. Um and so but to feel that it is easy just shows how much growth and how far you've come as an athlete, as an endurance racer, because of what you said. Like 25 yards without getting tired. Like yeah, because it's hard, but you do stack the days, and that is hard. And so I think that's part of what we're even talking about right here is just to be proud of that, just to be appreciative and not to discredit yourself. Oh, it's actually easy. It's actually not that hard. Like anyone could do it. It's like that's maybe true, but most people aren't doing it because it takes time, it takes effort, it takes consistency, it takes commitment outside of all of the other responsibilities that you already have. And so, to your point, the finish line, I'm sure was awesome. I did it. But you look back and you see the growth and you see the um, progression and you see the connections you made because of it. You see the cool races or the cool runs, the cool bike rides that you were able to do part of the training program.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
that's
Yeah, and I
awesome.
don't mean to discount that experience or say that it's easy because for anybody who has done it or just wants to do it. But yeah, it's the sense like where I really believe like anybody has the will to just do the training can do one of those things, because you'd be
That's fair.
surprised, and you probably saw it too, man, is when you're out there, there's people you would never suspect are triathletes.
All shapes and sizes, all
100%.
ages. Yeah,
Which in a way in itself is like it's inspiring too. You're like like one of my closest training partners for this past race was a retired gentleman in his 60s, and
that's awesome.
he's done 3 full Ironmans, uh over probably close to 10 70.3s, and
Damn.
he's still doing it now. He's got another one at the end of the year. He's got a marathon in November. Like he's just
Ripping.
continuing, yeah, just going, and so you definitely meet a lot of people like that where it's like you wouldn't think that like, hey, this guy is the is a savage
Yeah,
like this, but yeah, it's surprising.
that's cool. Going one of the like I had a quote for you based on all this. I'm gonna butcher it, but it's something along the lines of, um, I keep looking forward to like the next chapter of my life just to realize that like what I'm in right now is what I used to look forward to. And
Yeah.
so
Mm,
The
and so I just kept thinking when you said mountain behind the mountains there's another mountain. So it's just like a you think like once I overcome this thing then like I'm at the top of the hill just to realize it's another thing. Same thing with just like the seasons of life. Like
yeah.
I'm sure we're all you're looking forward to like having done the full Ironman and but you're really what you're gonna appreciate is that you're doing it right now. What you're doing today and tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that.
100%,
Um,
dude.
that's cool.
Yeah. The I think Chris Williamson has something similar to that. Is like the goals that you said would make you happy a year ago, you've already accomplished. Um, and so you, like again, like when you get to the top of the mountain, there's always a taller mountain, and I think for people, it's a good thing. I don't think there's a fine balance between being very ambitious and enjoying life, but I don't think like having that ambition to realize there's always something next after you've accomplished something that you've wanted to do is awesome. Like that's a very good thing to be driven. I don't think like we should discredit that at all, but there is like I said there's a balance between actually enjoying your life and living it
Yep.
compared to the what you said yesterday you already have. Um, and so I guess that transitions me into a question I wanted to ask you. Another Chris Williamson thing I've been journaling about. I'd love to get circle back on journaling at some point.
Yeah.
But he has a podcast and he's asked what are questions I should be asking myself. And one of the questions is what actually makes you happy, and does success make you happy? Or I guess it's a
Mm.
combination of two of them. And that's just something I wanted to propose to you while we're on this concept of, you know, we're all very driven people. And obviously, we're doing things outside of work, outside of career to try to build something of our own. What is happiness and your definition of happiness to you?
Hmm. I mean, for me, I think kind of true joy comes from living aligned to your values. Um, and similar to what we were talking about earlier, you know when you're misaligned, or at least it's a skill to be aware of when you feel misaligned. Um, and so I think how do I define happiness is am I doing the things on a daily basis that create little moments of joy for myself and for the people around me. And really, it's spending time with my people and connecting with people. Um, and some of that requires ambition outside of connecting with people so that you can do the things that you love. And I guess not to scrap what I just said, but just to I recently like kind of went through a process of like defining my values for myself, and it was always something that I never did because I was kind of a perfectionist and I felt like they had to be right. And I was just like, let's not put so much pressure on just writing some shit down.
I feel that.
Um, and it was kind of just clear to me. It was is off the top of my head, and I'll probably mess it up, but it was connection slash community. It's health. It's joy. And growth were for sure four of them. Oh, and then uh, genuine, honest. Um, and if I can do those things, and if I can align with not placing my value on the accomplishments of, let's just say for work, the project that I'm on, like in order for me to be happy, this has to be successful.
Yeah.
I'm going to be pissed if it's unsuccessful for sure. But I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to wait to be happy until I do that. I'm not going to wait to be happy until I have my wife. I'm not going to wait to be happy until I have my, all these things that like I know that I want for my life and I'm pursuing. Um, but I'm going to be happy knowing that I showed up and was myself at work, and that my focus was being curious and trying to grow and trying to learn just how the world works and apply it to my job. Um, I'm going to be happy knowing that I reached out to an old friend who I haven't talked to in 3 months and had a 45-minute conversation while I was stuck in traffic. Um, and so if I can, the more that I do in alignment with what creates joy on a daily basis, I think that's how you achieve happiness. I think so many people tie it to the job promotion, the amount of money that you make, the having this type of relationship. And there's just so many things that are just out of your control. So
Yeah.
control what you can control, and you can control how you show up. You can control your attitude. I'm a true believer in, life is 10% of what happens and 90% of how you react. And you have within your control how to elevate how you react. And some of that is through health and fitness, so that you show up even keeled and well rested and whatever it is. And so I don't know if that fully answers your question. How would you define happiness?
That's a good question. No, I think it did answer my question. I don't know. So hard. For me, we had this. I've been struggling about this, and I've been trying to journal about it more. Um, I'm someone that finds a lot of fulfillment. Now, I don't know if fulfillment and happiness are the same thing, but I find a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fulfillment through growth, through progression. We had a
Mm-hmm.
conversation about this last week. Chris Griffin, he has a podcast called the Pocket Podcast. Really good. Highly recommend. If you haven't heard of him, go check him out.
Mm-hmm.
He has like these really deep intellectual talks like us. He's our age. He's 24. Might have recognized him from social media. He's pretty big on there. Um, but he was talking about, he has this concept of the that's great if like my fulfillment is coming through progression. That's awesome. um, but like with anything, if you pick up a new task, you're going to progress really quickly at the start, and by the time you get to 80%, the typical 80-20 rule, you can learn about 80% of a subject matter with 20% of the effort. But to learn that last 20%, it takes about 80% of effort. So it's that flip side of the coin of the more mastery you have in something, the less progression you're going to get as you continue in the pursuit of that thing. And so, with this fallacy of fulfillment brings me happiness, well, say that's true. That's great because I'm 26 and there's going to be a lot of progression in a lot of what I do because of how young I am. But what does that mean when I'm 50 in a career where I've damn near mastered whatever I'm doing? Does that mean I just have to be a constant hobbyist? Do I need to just keep picking up new things? And maybe that is because I love learning. I love
Mm-hmm.
that's what I love about this podcast, is bringing people on, learning new perspectives, learning about new things. And I'm sure that's what we all kind of love about a lot of the podcasts we listen to as well. But that's something I'm trying to wrestle with and figure out. I think we came across in literally as I was discussing this with Brandon last week, came across a Alex Hormozy quote, and I'm gonna butcher it. I don't remember it word for word, but essentially it's along the lines of happiness is not from the accomplishment of your goal, but rather the person you become to achieve that goal. And I think it's a great perspective. Is you instead of being the guy that can run the Ironman, I want to become the guy that is disciplined enough to go out on a 3-hour run on a Saturday morning.
Mm.
I want to be the guy that is disciplined enough to know, like, hey, I can't eat this thing, because that discipline will transfer into other areas of life. So I think it's a great perspective. Again, the happiness for me, to go back to answering the question, I get a lot right now just from progression and growth, but I'm trying to wrestle with the fact that that is setting me up for ultimately a very miserable life as you get close to mastery on things.
I mean, Brandon has an example of someone in his 60s who's
Yeah.
still figuring it out or progressing in one way or another. Maybe he's not as fast as he was when he was 40 or 30, but overcoming different challenges. Also think your source of happiness will shift as just your life circumstances change,
Yeah, a
you
thousand
know?
percent, right? Like people with kids will talk about like what was life before children, you know?
Yeah.
That's like such a huge milestone of where your complete morals and values shift, and where your fulfillment's drawn from. So yeah, I think I mean, like anything, it's a something that evolves as you evolve as a person. If you asked me that same question 4 years ago while we were at Cal Poly, I probably would have said happiness comes from Daedrus
Beer.
at 138 Orange. Um, but
I mean, it
yeah,
did, you
yeah,
know?
I mean, exactly.
Like objectively.
But it's community, I think, and having fun with your
Yes.
friends. And
Yeah.
so, can you create joy? What the joy environments are going to change over time. That's okay.
Yeah.
Only
Hmm.
constant is change.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's just,
I agree. I think the change is the big part, is that it will change. And the person the people that we are right now is not going to be the people we are in probably a year, probably 2 years, and definitely probably not 10.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's like part of just figuring it out though. There's at the level you just got to go and do it, and we're going to make mistakes along the way, and knowing that, and and you figure it out, and you begin to start to shape your life around what is important to you at that given point, right? Because right now it's that we all have a lot more time than we will have when we are married and have kids. Just
hmm
it's there's gonna be we're gonna have to sacrifice certain things, and you're gonna have to give up certain things for that season of our life. So um, I think
one of the things that I remember my first job out of college, um, like the managing director was telling me all about like how he approached his 20s. Um, and his whole thing was, he's like, I know that family is like gonna be a big part of my life, and I want to be the type of father that my I had, and etc. And so he's like, I just pursued as much as I could, knowing I have the time, knowing that life is going to change. And so, how can I set my trajectory in my 20s as high as I can, whether that's with skills or career or experiences? How can I make the most of it, knowing that this is the most amount of time I'll ever have? Knowing that at some point it's going to have to do this because I, Fridays I don't
Yeah.
I can't just leave on a weekend because I have a 1 year old screaming. Um and I feel like that perspective of how do I set my trajectory in a way that's going to allow me to like taper off eventually,
Hmm.
because I don't have as much time, I don't have as much energy, I don't have as much whatever it is. We have that right now.
Yeah.
And then that's the
yeah,
whole freaking balance with myself of like, I'm as young as I'll ever be. Like, I should be hungover more often. And then I'm like, wait, I hate feeling hungover. Like, it doesn't allow me to make the most of it. And I still consciously choose to go out and have fun with my friends and socialize and party to party. But it's become much more intentional over
Yeah.
time. It's not perfectly
that's
intentional, but it's more intentional.
that's what I was gonna say. The underlying like theme of a lot of the conversations we've been having today is intention.
Yeah.
And when you get more intentional about what you're doing, then you're able to you're just living I think it's just a better life. And because you know you just know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And you have a why behind it. There's so many times that I think um, people, myself included, can get caught in just that day to day, whatever you're doing, that you're doing it because that's the routine, that's what you have to do, and you just get caught in that. But then journaling, being more present, uh, find like actually thinking about the tasks that or your goals, those are all intention. And when you live in that intention is when you can actually kind of remove yourself from the situation and actually be able to live the life you want to live.
You have to like carve out, like you have to be intentional about carving out time to retain intention. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
like that is one of the things that journaling allows you to do is it gives you 10 minutes, 30 minutes sometimes if you're feeling it to just like be with yourself. I like to think of like a metaphor of like you have your hands on the steering wheel and like so many people have backseat drivers, people in the passenger like yanking on the wheel as you're trying to drive and like, no, we're going to go over here. And so how can you retain control of that steering wheel as much as possible? And that comes from, we've talked about a lot on our podcast, but your phone. Your phone is a great tool and it's awesome. And Instagram is fucking hilarious and it's an opportunity to connect with people and its community. But when it's these unconscious, like, hey, I have 10 minutes, like just time just goes away. That time could be spent just on a walk outside without your phone and just thinking or learning about something or whatever. Like, how do you, and that's the thing that I've been not grappling with, but really realizing. Have you guys heard of the brick?
I
Yeah.
have. I get ads for that. I've been thinking about it.
Dude,
You
He's
got
got
one?
it.
get it. Get it.
It's worth
It
it.
is it rocks. I've been bricked now for 107 hours straight.
Let's go.
This is the longest I've ever been bricked. But and you kind of make it a game. You're like, I'm gonna get freaking bricked up all day, and I'm gonna lock in. And it's just anything that makes time bloop, go at like just poof
Yeah.
is not available. So
Yeah,
my,
what restrictions do you have? Yeah.
my sports apps, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, um, fantasy football, even news apps, anything that's like what I have available is anything that's banking, anything that is like
Yeah.
logistics, anything that is work, anything that is communication. So it's really just become a tool. I can talk to people, I can get to places that I need to go, I can pay my credit card off, but anything that when I'm bored or frustrated at work and I just like grab my phone and all of a sudden it's been 15 minutes is gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
worst
Yeah.
case scenario, I can go on my computer and like go on Twitter and like look up something specific if I need to.
But it's
But
not
I
as
but I don't,
Rea-
it's not as easy, it's not as unconscious. And then what it's done for me, and it's like $40 and it's not a recurring payment and it's just enough of an obstacle to that gets in the way of the unconsciousness.
yeah.
That it's actually shifted when I'm unbricked my relationship with social, with Instagram, with whatever. Like I go on it and I realize I'm like, I actually don't know any of the people that I'm looking at after about 2 minutes of being on there.
Yeah, good point.
It's all sponsorships and fucking companies talking about whatever, and they post 19 times a day because they have 4 interns doing it. Like it's just meant to control your attention. And so going back to what we were initially talking about is being intentional. Like now Brick has allowed me to intentionally go on social media. And one of my favorite things to do is to brick before going to bed. So I brick so I can't do it while I'm scrolling in bed. And I can't wake up and just immediately
I like that.
do this
yeah.
for no reason. So I start my day off on a better trajectory more often. It's not perfect. Once again, I don't have the brick with me at all times. Like when I was in Arkansas for work, like I didn't have it. But I felt myself being like, oh, I'm on Instagram. I don't need to be. I'm usually not at this time.
Yeah. You
So
convinced
You
me.
got me.
This,
Yeah, you got me sold, dude.
and if you
not
Are
buy,
you, you
if
got
you
a sponsorship? You got a link?
Yeah,
use your
you
code,
fucking
earn your
ass.
couch. No,
Seriously, reach out to him.
I have message. Also, I'm about to lose my AirPods. Hang on.
To go back to your point of the intentionality of just time, right? I think this is a lot of like just the time management. A lot of I've been doing this a lot recently is leaving my phone. I don't have a charger in my room, so I have to leave my phone out on the kitchen island to charge,
Nice.
and I work from my room. So that's been good during the day where like I'll get up, I'll check it during the day if I'm letting the dog out or letting him get water, grabbing a snack, grabbing some water, put it back on the charger. I need to get the brick though, because one thing I've been struggling with, and I think we've all talked about it. It's like the our Instagram account for this podcast got taken down, and then like also Instagram for the fitness account and stuff I've been doing got taken down. So I've been trying to take a lot of reflection and the time away from it to be like, okay, why? What were the bad relationships with I have had with it? In this week span of just time away until hopefully, ideally, we can get them back. And I think that is one of them was kind of mindless scrolling. I think a
Yep.
lot of it was like I started when you were talking about putting it on the brick before bed. I would catch myself first thing in the morning. Let's go check the follower count. Let's go check how many likes, comments I got. Like I was very addicted to those dopamine hits of, hey, this is the engagement you're getting. And I think it ties into, I've been trying to do a lot of reflection on this in the last week to see like why this relationship was starting to turn. I would say toxic is a strong word, but negative. And I think part of it's tied to that growth. Like I was seeing progression and I was seeing it
Yeah.
fast, and it was like a huge dopamine hit. And it was, I mean, again, tied to exactly what we were talking about. It's progression, growth, and seeing those numbers. I'm an analytical guy. I'm a data scientist. I love numbers. I'm literally coding all day long. So like numbers are my thing. Um, and that is one thing I would see myself doing a lot, though. It's like mindlessly going to get that. Okay, where are we at? Where are we sitting? What are the view counts at? Like super, like way too much in the weeds of it all.
Mm.
And so that definitely something I've been doing a little more reflection on. I got to get that brick so that when ideally things come back, I can fix that relationship with it.
What do you want? What do you want the relationship with it to be?
Ideally, like you said, a tool, right? I think there is a balance between you don't need to look at the numbers all the time. I think this is a good thing that people talk about with when you buy stocks. Stop looking at the price every day. Look at the price every month, or look at the
Mm.
price quarterly. Like that's you're investing into it, right? I think you need to shift that mindset into the analytics for our podcasts, for Instagram accounts, whatever it is. If you're in the content space, um, yeah, checking every day is whatever, but the numbers are really not going to be steady until like a week later. So, if you post what I was doing, posting every day, or like you're making 2 podcasts every month, I'm not too sure what the numbers with the podcast are. I'd be curious. Probably, I would imagine 2 weeks, they probably level out. But it's like checking less periodically. I don't need to be in the weeds of the numbers every day. Uh, I would say another thing too is the balance of like engagement followed. You don't have to be responding to everything immediately, or you don't have to be engaging with comments or like because you want to build the community, right? Like you don't want to just go post things and let people think that you're not interacting with them. I think that's one thing of
Sure.
trying to build audience with anything. So just fixing those two things I think is big. Yeah, I think again going back to the relationship of it is having it be. I mean, it's hard because I have obsessions about everything, and anything I'm passionate about kind of becomes an obsession. But let it stop being such an obsession, and find that balance again.
That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's so easy to just check it again.
yeah,
Check it
the
It's
again.
meant
numbers
to
will
do
all.
that too.
It's
Yeah,
trying.
literally,
It's
literally.
meant to do that. It's like part of the reason it's why I think social media is such like a huge. It's been yeah, we all know what it is, but it's just from the creator side, it's like that. Like from the consumer side, it's also like that. But
Yeah,
I think a good thing, well, tie it back again, is that James Clear, like your systems. That's
yeah,
essentially what the brick is doing. Is it's a system, and it's making it harder to do. And because I do the same thing you do, Ty, with your phone during work, I leave it downstairs in the kitchen,
yeah.
and so it's way harder to be able to get. I have to really go to it. But
Yeah.
then as soon as work is done, I've noticed like it's just all right. Now we can. Now we're hanging out and
Yeah,
chilling and doing that. And it's boom, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever.
yeah.
And you had all these other things you wanted to do. Um, but
I try to if I obviously I'm on this streak right now. But
I
whenever
love
I
it too. Bricked up. That's like the
dude,
best. It's
brick
so
up
funny.
right
fire.
now. I've been
Uh,
bricked for 108 hours. Call a doctor. Uh, no, I went to, or my thing became, can I unbrick basically when I'm making dinner? Like once the shit, because it's on my fridge, and so
hmm
it's in the kitchen, and once like there's the stir fry is sizzling and things in the air fryer or whatever I'm cooking is
Yeah.
rolling, then I can unbrick and then I check and I go through and I go for about 3 minutes. I go through all the things and then I'm kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
I had 4 direct messages from a group chat and I had one person comment on or tag me in a comment and I saw some of my friends' posts and now I'm on Bleacher Report and sponsored ads and now
Yeah.
it's and so but to your point, Brandon, is it's so easy when you're at like the willpower is like such a fleeting resource and when you are working hard all day and you get off and you just check the one thing, then all of a sudden it's 30 minutes and you're like, oh fuck, where did that go? But yeah, no, I'm trying to get everyone bricked up.
Well, you
Dude, you
got
got to
us
get that
sold.
sponsorship. You got us sold. I've been seeing the ads for it and been like heavily considering it already. So I'm basically there.
Yeah, if I even if I am bricked too, like to your guys' point, like I work where I am right now, but I've gotten pretty good at just like landing it on the back of that couch like perfectly every
Nice.
time and just try and throw it, literally get it out of my sight because I don't think people realize the pull. Like we are human beings, and this thing is engineered by some of the smartest people who's ever been alive to
Yeah.
make you want to pick it up,
Yeah.
and you have no idea.
That's why.
And so
That's why it
even if it's in
refreshes.
your yeah.
That's why it refreshes by pulling down because you're literally pulling a slot machine for new notifications. Did you know that?
Really?
No, but it
Yeah,
makes sense.
the ingenuity of like Twitter and Instagram while you refresh by swiping down to get it at the top, right?
Yeah.
It's because it mimics a slot machine. So it's variable. So like you could pull 4 times, you might finally get that thing that you're looking for. It's crazy. I
Interesting.
forget what book I read that about. It's yeah, but it's wild. Probably a
There's a good
podcast. I don't know.
there's a
I
good
hear so many
documentary on
things.
Netflix that came out like during COVID.
Social
Uh
Dilemma.
Social Dilemma. Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
one. That's a good one.
That got me to delete
Oh,
Instagram for like a year and then
same.
at some point I got it back.
Yeah, now I'm fucking trying to be an influencer on it. Um,
Hey, you're doing the damn thing. I love it. I think
yeah.
you found a message and it's a what I love about it and one of the reasons why we started posting on, for Earn Your Couch and stuff that I've posted over time. And Tyler, we talked about it, in
Mhm.
February back before you started of like you just eventually you just have to get over like your own like the stories you're telling
Ego.
yourself about the
Yeah.
judgments that people give. But like if you take a step back and look at what you're posting, like it is a positive influence for people. Like
hmm
you're not hopping on and shitting on people. You're not hopping on and I think there's a reason that you have had the growth, and it's because people are resonating with your message, and you have a sick six pack.
Thanks, appreciate it. Enough,
And
enough about me. Enough about me. Another question I wanted to ask here. Another Williamson 5 questions you should ask yourself is: if money and status were no object, what would you do with the rest of your life?
I feel like I've gotten some form of this question quite a few times over life. I always have a really hard time answering it. I feel like I went to business. I went to study business because I wasn't exactly sure kind of like what my draw was. And I went into consulting after because I wasn't exactly sure like which area of business I wanted to be in. For me, it's like I love being with people that like to enjoy life. And I like learning new things. And so when I think about that as my kind of core source of what I would be doing. Like I don't have that. I would I would do this one thing. What I would do is I'd probably explore the world with people that I care about and just try to enjoy it, knowing that we are on this blue marble floating rock in the middle of nowhere and there's a big old world out there with all sorts of experiences and sights and different animals and cultures and different ways of doing things and just trying to soak it all in before the time is over. And then I think once I did that, I think my goal in life is to be a dad who coaches their kids' sports. And I think if I would just be involved with just like community sports, same way that, I had with my dad growing up, that was a big aspect of my life was he was coach. And I thought that was super cool and fun. Just because he had a job that he was able to do it. And I know that so many people don't have that, capability because they work till 5:30 or 6 and then they have the big house that has the big old mortgage that then they can't get out of that job in order to. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to set up my life so that I have enough flexibility to be able to do that. But if money and status were no object, I think I'd be a AYSO commissioner.
Yeah, it's that constant trade-off of people trade away their happiness for ultimate success, and then when they reach success, um, they want to trade their success for happiness. Uh, it's kind of this feedback loop of, I don't know. I struggle with it. I think anyone in their 20s who's talking about work-life balance, um, think that is the time where you go all in and grind and like kind of sacrifice your happiness for a little bit. I mean, it's like you said, it's literally to have the most time we're ever going to have in our lives, with the least amount of commitment. So I think to sacrifice your 20s so that you can have fulfillment in the life you want in your 30s and 40s is great. But then you make that argument. You sacrifice your 20s for your 30s, you sacrifice your 30s for your 40s. It's an
20s
endless
is for
cycle.
learning,
It's the
30s is
constant.
for earning, 40s is for burning. I've heard that.
Yeah,
Learn in your
that's a good one.
20s, earn in your 30s, burn in your 40s.
That's a good one.
But
I like that.
but then there's the like the Mexican Fisher story that Chris
Never heard of
Williamson
it.
I think is has it's the idea that there's this fisherman down in Mexico and he's sitting on the beach and
Yeah.
he takes his boat out and he comes back with a couple fish and he cooks it up for his family and businessman comes down and he goes like, why don't you basically create a business out of it and try and create this empire so that you can go out and fish for a couple fish and come back and cook for your family. And he's like, so why do I have to go through all of that to do what I'm doing right now? But then there's the balance of being ambitious, and I think you need means to do things and to support and to have security for the people that you love. And I think it seems like we're all, probably going to try to have families at some point. And so just to say like, oh, I'm just going to fuck off for my 20s doesn't make sense to me either, which is why there's that balance of, I feel like I should be hungover more often versus like, no, like, why would I do that? Like now is the time to like lock in. And so there's the constant battle.
The trade-off. Yeah.
Once again, coming back to intentional, being intentional with it, like
Hmm.
knowing that you don't have to sacrifice all the fun in the world to just stay locked in. But if you're locked in 80% of the time and you give yourself the freedom of like, I'm okay, I'm enjoying the way up. Um, I think
Yeah.
Hormozy talks about being, you either get experiences in your 20s or you get
Yeah,
like
you
ahead kind of
you
thing.
uh be in oh, shit. And be li- live up your 20s to be an unexperienced 30-year-old or work up your 20s to be an experience. It's
Yeah, yeah,
put together a lot
Like,
more beautifully than that. Something along
yeah.
those lines of unexperienced experience. But yeah, Hermosi. I just did in my run today. I've been ripping their fourth podcast together on modern wisdom with Williamson and Hermosi, 4 hours long. I've now completed it twice. Um,
Wow.
it's just so good because it's so long. There's so much in there. It's hard to digest everything, and like they touch on such great topics. So it's been one of my repeats for my long runs on the weekends. Um, yeah, man, they got some good stuff there.
dude, I have to do that podcast with a notebook right next to me so I can keep track of
Yeah,
some of these things. Because there's things that like, I want to come back to that, and I know I won't if I just keep listening.
yeah, it's hard.
But
So much information to take in.
I love the podcast on a cardio workout move. It's
Yeah,
just a way to like stack the things that you want to fit into your world.
hmm,
So many people do music. I feel like it's easier to get lost in the conversation, like in a conversation. And then for me, you then switch to music when you feel like you need like a boost, and you almost like
yeah, yeah.
use music as a tool. I've been much more on the train recently, and I, 6 months ago I would have said you're absolutely psychotic at myself, but I've been going on no music, no podcasts, runs,
yes,
like 3 hour drive, just
Yeah.
silent. Um, and I think it's what I've appreciated about it is even if you don't think of music as like a stressor, I think it just adds to the cognitive load. And we're all dealing with such a high cognitive load, from work, from our goals, from our anxieties, from our relationships, from whatever. And it's just once again creating space to work through, to think about, to like, rather than we're all just so addicted to having inputs all the time. You wake up, you turn a song on. You wake up, you start your podcast. You wake up, you're checking your phone, you're listening to a podcast, you turn the TV on. Like there's just so much coming in all the time. And so on a walk or on a run or on your commute, it's such a good time to just be like, you know what, I'm not gonna add anything, even if it's just a podcast about sports. I'm just gonna let stuff leave. I'm gonna let my cup like get a little bit lower so I can actually fill it up with stuff that I want to fill it up with.
Yeah,
I think
the
that's a cheat code, dude. That's I've been doing that for a minute too, and you, the level of like conscious thoughts that you start to get, and you start to get a little bit more like clarity on the things you're like either thinking about or haven't been thinking about. That those are the times like those things come up, and it gives you time to process. I think it's the biggest
Mm-hmm.
cheat code for being present in your daily life without having to make time for like a certain like journaling practice or meditation or something like that is by just taking no music and doing something that you have to do, a long run, a drive, a walk, and just do it with nothing is the biggest cheat code. How you can stack those two together and get. I even call it on my Strava sometimes. I'll call it active meditation. I don't know if I've ever even
Nice.
told anybody, but it's like active meditation. When I put that one on there, it's raw, it's nothing, and I'm just out there and just doing it. And yeah, it's surprisingly freeing too
It's
when you
weird.
don't.
People are. I feel like whenever I bring this up, people are like, "Oh, I could never. Oh, no way.
just
Like
raw dog
being
it.
alone with my own thoughts, like no shot." And I'm like, that's where I was too. And then you kind of get through the discomfort after a little bit, and you start to just appreciate. The way that I've described it is when there's like an AC unit on, and there's just kind of constant buzz, but you start it doesn't register anymore. And then when the AC like just shuts off automatically, and you're like, oh shit, there's actually a level of peace here that I didn't realize I could have, I could have. I didn't
Hmm.
realize that that kind of constant hum was in my brain.
Yeah.
And then so giving yourself that opportunity to not just have that hum going.
And I would
It's
argue, yeah, I would argue too, it's that being able to do that should be something that should be like more strive for. And I don't, in the sense that where it's like we are like you yourself are like the person you spend the most time with. And if you are afraid to be able to be with your own thoughts, is like, in my opinion, a little concerning.
for sure.
Like there's something there, right? And so,
Yeah.
um, that's my take on it. Where it's like I want to be able to be comfortable with whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm thinking, and be just at least content with being with myself. So, um, yeah, I'm a huge proponent of it, and I think it's really good, and it's a step in for me at least in trying to be like healthy with how I go about the things I want to do in my life.
And I think
Yeah.
most of
The
it's a habit, anyways. Like it's
Hmm.
just a habit of, hey, every morning I've woken up and I've turned on a song while I make breakfast, and so like
Yep.
you just do it unconsciously, or you're like making breakfast and you're like, hang on, like let me put on Zach Bryan for a second. And then when you like just break it once, the first day is kind of weird, and then you're actually, that's kind of nice, and then the second day is easier, the third day is easier. It's just like
Hmm.
anything.
yeah. I mean, the answers you're looking for are in the silence you're avoiding. I think Oliver Stone said that. Um, yeah, I don't. Do you guys know who Wayne from Dry Creek Wrangler School is?
Mm-mm.
I don't.
I don't know if you guys might have seen him on YouTube. He does like YouTube shorts where he sits down, older gentleman, rancher, big old beard, wears a cowboy hat, smokes a tobacco pipe, and then just kind of rambles on to young men about things they should do. But he has a really good one where he doesn't think that a lot of people, like as we've been talking about, sit in their own thoughts and sit in silence, like to like genuinely relax too. I think that's the other thing is people are like, oh, I'm gonna relax tonight. I'm gonna sit down and watch a movie. It's like, yes, but I don't. A lot of people don't allow their brain to just settle, just to sit down. Um, I think it
It's
is
more.
good. Sit down, sit by a fire, by yourself, and just look at the sunset. Go to the beach. I mean, we all live in SoCal, so it's very easy. It's just go to the beach, sit down. Don't bring anything with you. Don't bring a book. Don't bring your phone, and just sit on the sand for 30 minutes. Yeah, and allow your mind to go to the places where it wants to go and let it go. Be very intentional about recognizing why are you going those places. Allow the thoughts to pass. Let thoughts to come up that have just been suppressed for by, like you said, white noise for a little too long.
I mean, yeah, I've become a huge proponent of just lower the inputs.
Mm-hmm.
If 75% of your day right now is there's an input, whether it's on your phone or with the TV or work or whatever, music on, if you can get that down to 65%, just lower it. It doesn't need to be complete disconnection. You don't need to go on a silence meditation retreat for 10 days. I think people would get a lot of benefits from it, especially with how scary it is to be silent with yourself for 20 minutes, let alone 10 days.
Yeah.
Um, but you don't have to do that to start. Like, just don't put it on while you're showering,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Hmm. So
And
seg
it's,
Last.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was going to segue into the last quote that I wanted to hit on, um, and it's that the water doesn't get warmer if you wait to get in, and essentially that like you just got to go do it and jump in, and you'll figure it out from there. Um, and yeah, what do you think about that, Jacob?
I like that quote. The water doesn't get warmer. Is it? The water doesn't get warmer
If
if you
you
wait
wait
to
to
get
get
in.
in. Hmm. And, yeah.
The what comes to my brain, and this has been a theme ever since like I started to intersect, was not letting perfection get in the way of progress. Um, and the key to so many things is just taking action. getting started. We've talked about it before the podcast started recording. Is it's not going to be perfect. That's okay. Nothing is perfect. Um, and so I think a lot of people with their health and their fitness have to have like the perfect environment in order to do the thing. I don't have an hour and a half. I don't have a da 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 da. I have this afterwards. I only have 15 minutes. And so that's becomes the blocker for not doing anything. Um, and so I like the water's not getting warmer because I don't know if you guys do cold plunges ever, but most people just look at it and they just start thinking. This is gonna be so fucking cold. This is gonna be so cold. Like I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Just get in. Just get in. Um, and then breathe through your nose. And if you need to get out, you can get out. It's not the end of the world.
Hmm.
But so many people wait to take action where the answer is taking action.
Yeah.
And when you do it in life stuff too, the lessons you learn just from starting something is those is exactly what you needed to be able to get to the point where you see the perfect product, right? Like how, like if even for where we are at in our podcast, like for me and Tyler, is this will be our fifth episode. We've recorded seven, I think, but two of them we've had to scrap.
Yeah,
But that's just part of the process, right? That's
for
we
sure.
just had to learn those things, and we don't learn those things by just sitting on the sideline waiting for them to happen. It's like we just had to get in there. Oh shoot, we lost an hour, we lost a couple hours, we lost that video, but that's the lesson that we're going to learn, and we got that from just doing it. Without doing it, we never would have had those lessons. So that's where I
One
think
of
that quote really resonates for me.
and that reminds me of a quote that I used to say all the time, but the only failure is inaction.
Yeah, that's a
The
good one.
rest is trial and
Hmm.
error. Like the only
Yeah.
failure is to not try. Because then you never know if you were going to be successful and you never got the learnings of the failure. So the only failure in life is inaction. The rest is trial and error.
I think that's along the lines of like Hermosi too. What he talks a lot. I like one of them is if I told you that you're 10 failures away to your first success, how
Mhm.
quickly would you go about failing? Um, that's a great. I think that's just
So good.
That's
such a good
that's
mindset,
good.
man. Such a good mindset. And then the last one I like, and he's been harping on this hard recently in all his podcasts he's been on, but is do so much volume that it is inevitable that you'll be successful. I think that's another great one. Uh, it's just if you just it's so true. If you do something just countless numbers of times, you're gonna eventually encounter at some point luck. If you that's another good one. If you show up every day, you're never gonna miss a lucky day. And
Mm,
it just goes to one of the biggest lessons I've learned this year with podcasts, with the fitness account, with everything is you're not your thoughts, you're your actions. You just gotta like actually act on them. You can have all these thoughts of, oh, I want to do this podcast. I want to talk about these things, or I like would love to put a camera in front of my face, start recording things, and they just do it though. You know, a lot of people get caught in the mental masturbation of
yep.
things they think about so much they actually think they're doing them.
You get
Hmm.
the like the internal feedback that you did do it, but
Yeah,
you just
exactly.
thought
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Which and I've fall prey to it too. There's a lot of things that I say like I want to do, and then you make an excuse. And I
yeah.
Yeah.
realize that when I do the thing that I say I want to do, how much like confidence comes from just doing what you said you were going to do. Even if it was like, even if you scrapped it, you know, even if you ended up scrapping the podcast at the end of recording, it's like, hey, all right, at least we got that. We learned this. We need to make sure that we have a mic. Like we need to make sure that whatever. But you wouldn't have gotten that additional confidence for the next recording, you know?
Yep.
What's up, man?
Well,
Well,
hell
it's
yeah.
been so great, man. Thanks for coming on. I was really excited for this podcast because I knew this wasn't going to be one where we'd have to tread into water of, you know, start with what are you doing, give us your, you know, your past information. We could kind of get to these deeper topics right away. And yeah, this was a fun. I feel like we could go for another hour. I had like 4 or 5 more questions lined up, but we'll save them for episode 2. I feel like this is going to be a couple part series here of
Yeah,
you coming on.
not
I
the
would love
first
to come
time.
back.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you guys on Earn Your Couch.
Dude, we got to do
I
it
would
in
love that.
person.
I'm
That's the
down.
other thing too. I got to pick your brain on that. Me and Brandon have been trying to scheme up how we can get an in-person pod going here too, because you know how it is. You step on each other's toes with the lag, you know, the lag and everything. But yeah, we'll make it work. We'll make it happen.
We've done a couple. I don't know if you saw like the clips back from with Tyler and Ryan, and it feels so different. It really
Yeah.
does. Because you're just like you give them a little tap on the shoulder, be like, wait, tell me more about, and it's just something about being in
Yeah,
the
it's
same physical space.
Yeah.
totally. Well, yeah, dude, really appreciate you coming on. This is reiterate what Tyler said. This was awesome. This was fun conversations, and I think very important for us to have, but then also at the same time for people who want to listen and hear it too and give some food for thought too.
What I
So it
what
was
I
great, man.
love what I love about these podcasts is I always feel I come out of it just grounded in a way. Once again, it's almost like having a multi-person journaling session together.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. That's one of the reasons why I do it for free, kind of thing, because
Mhm.
I just
Well,
I enjoy it, and I enjoyed the conversation with you guys as well,
until Brick gets a hold of you, and then you're doing it for paid.
dude. I'm
We're
trying to
gonna make
break
it
the
work.
world
Earn your
record.
couch.
We're
Trying to break the world record for bricked up.
Awesome.
Good deal, man.
Well, thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.